Princess Kate revealing her cancer diagnosis in a very personal speech that a palace source now confirms that she, quote, wrote every word herself. Here's our royal expert, Patricia Treble, joins us now with the very latest. Patricia, goes without saying, revealing a cancer diagnosis, I mean, that is something that is so personal, so very personal. What do we know about this video that was released back on Friday? It was reportedly shot by the BBC, correct?
Yeah, it was shot by BBC Studios. So this is part of the BBC. It was shot on Wednesday, 2 days before it was released, at Windsor, obviously, and you can see the daffodils behind. I think there's a reason we did the outdoor shot. And with a professional crew, is they wanted to avoid any more fallout from that photo, right, which went sideways. So the completely independent crew, everyone doing it. It was kept so confidential that BBC News didn't even know about it until they and the other members of the Royal Rota were told, come to the palace, we're having a briefing on Friday afternoon. It was the ultimate Friday news dump, but of course the focus was not to bury the news on the weekend. There was no way that was being buried, but because of the children. So,
speaking of the children, how do we know how they are doing, how William is doing? How is that family doing?
Right. I think the focus has been really on protecting the kids. I mean, she said it in the video. She said, everything is about how you explain this to very young kids. And the timing is very specific because Friday afternoon, they're out of school and they're about to start a 3-week news break, 3-week school break. So they're off to their country house, which is Anmar Hall, which is on the huge Sandringham Royal Estate, and they can just spend time as a family. And so I think that's going to be the focus, is really to keep them together and let everything kind of calm down. As for William, I don't know if you've seen him lately, but he looks as though the world is on his shoulders. And now, of course, we know why. Mm-hmm. He's apparently incredibly proud of his wife. I mean, that is quite the video. But I think he's going to be continuing as normal. I mean, his focus has always been his family. He's always made that clear. Family comes first. We're going to see him doing more duties, but I think everything is in perspective. It's family first and then everything else.
Right. Well, here is a man whose wife and father are now both battling cancer. And speaking of, what has the reaction been from the king regarding this?
This was delightful. So right after she made the video was released at 6 o'clock local time, which is 2 p.m. Our time in Toronto. He put out a statement saying how proud he was of his beloved daughter-in-law. And they've always been very close. They're both outdoorsy. They're both really artistic. But since they've both been in hospital together and both had cancer, they've come even closer. Apparently, when they were together in the London clinic, in a secure area, obviously, he was toddling down the hallway in his robe to go see her repeatedly when they were both there. And I think this has simply just cemented that relationship even tighter.
Do we think she was always going to do that, or the speculation about her health, do you think that led her to go public with her diagnosis?
I think the minute they found out, we're not quite sure. I think the minute we found out that she found out that she was going to have chemo, they knew that they were going to have to say something because she wasn't going to come back right after Easter, right? No matter what. I mean, this is now going to be much longer. There's no timeline given. So I think that they were going to have to announce it. And this is one of those issues where, yes, you have an expectation of privacy as a human being, but you're also royal. So you have to release something, which is why they released as little as they had to. I think it was inevitable. And I think this was the decision to do it by video very calmly, very matter-of-factly, was the perfect way to do it.
Yeah, we're also hearing she was quite inspired by the king and his transparency, and we know that they have a very close relationship, the two. There's also been a statement of support from Harry and Meghan as well. Yeah,
so Harry and Meghan were, wishing her best wishes. We understand that they did not get a heads up, like so many, because it was so closely held. And look, there's been outpouring basically across the world. It's amazing when you see politicians, but, organizations that she's had an impact with, but ordinary people wishing her well. I mean, the video on Twitter, X alone, has had 110 million views. I mean, that's just astounding. And also people who've been affected by cancer. So Chris Everett, Martina Navratilova, 2 tennis players that she knows from because she's one of the patrons at Wimbledon, and they were wishing her good wishes.
All right. Well, much more to come on this. Thank you for updating us on this story, Patricia.
You're more than welcome.
All right.